Hola chicos. So today we're going to look quickly at en la clase. This is the end of the preliminary unit. So this entire worksheet is set to practice in class commands and questions that either the teacher would ask or that the students might ask, with the goal of staying more in Spanish, more in the target language. So when we look at activity 1, based on the photos there are commands that correspond to uno, dos, tres, and cuatro. So you're making sure that you're writing the letter that matches the photo and the command. And number 2, this was a little tricky, but if you look at the modelo on the example, Enrique doesn't want to read a book. So then you must say, Enrique, lee el libro. So now we're using the command to read to tell Enrique, hey, read your book. If number 1, Maria doesn't want to ask a question, we're going to say, Maria, ask another student a question or ask the teacher a question to start practicing that command of asking questions. Pablo and Ramon don't want to sit down. So say, Pablo and Ramon, sit down. Obviously, we're practicing the Spanish though. So you should be practicing if there are accent marks. You should be using your word list or the Quizlet set to help you find those new terms, get comfortable with them, and start writing them in Spanish, paying attention to accent marks. Now that you can have all your resources out, this is the time to really dive into the list and get used to it. Activity 3 is an in-class, but it's nice because it provides you a little bit of a word bank. Right, some of those might correspond to activity 2 and activity 1. It's not all of the commands, but it's a good amount. So if I were to ask you to do those commands in class, would you know? So maybe going through here and writing what they are, that might be something you should do for activity 3 in case you don't know them. So taking a moment to negotiate the meaning. We look at page 2. Again, it's matching in the beginning based on the question. What would the correct answer be on the right? This corresponds to our All Spanish Preguntas Quizlet. So you can see some of those there. Below is another photo. So now you don't have a word bank. So now you're going to have to use your word list to sort of say, what are these kids doing? Now for number 1, it's kind of tricky. I think they want you to say they're sitting. Or you could say they're studying, but we haven't had that yet. So just do the command for sitting down for number 1. 2, they're obviously raising their hand. 3, she's reading a book. 4, maybe working with another student. And 5, asking another student a question. So look up those words in Spanish, practice your spelling, practice your accent marks. Activity 3, why don't you pretend that your classmate's asking you so that when we do it in class, you have your answers ready. So on the lines here, just pretend that a classmate asked you, and you can go ahead and complete those. And then for our third page, these are commands you would see based on the time. So if it's the start of class, maybe you use one of our intros for good morning or good afternoon. For the students having to take notes, maybe you're saying get out a sheet of paper, which is one of our commands. The students have to read their textbooks, maybe use the command read. For having questions, maybe you could use the command to ask another student a question or ask the teacher. And then class is ended. You can use one of our goodbyes like hasta mañana or one of the other goodbye phrases. All right. Now for the bottom below, remember it says respond in complete sentences. So this would be, don't just give me the word for question. Can you figure out what phrase you should say to say, you would say question? It's actually in the question a little bit. So this one's really tricky. So try your best with this, but then pay attention when we go over this one in class so that you can feel more confident. The Quizlet, that is the All Spanish Quizlet, actually has these questions with the appropriate phrase. So you can go to that Quizlet in our class if you want to see exactly what it is. All right. And then the bottom, we'll do this one in class. So just kind of look it over, make sure you feel comfortable. Everything here is designed to help you use these new phrases so that we can have our classes more in Spanish. We want to get to about 85% of the class being in Spanish, and these phrases and questions will help us get there. All right, so I hope you found that helpful. Good luck, and don't worry about being perfect. Just worry about practicing your spelling, be observant, use the other parts of the workbook as a word bank, especially when it comes to spelling and accents. All right, so I hope to talk to you soon. Thanks.